Hello and good morning. It's about 10 after 8 Eastern Time, Friday, uh, 2019. Um, I did an end of the day video yesterday and something got messed up with it. So I'm just going to touch on a couple things real quick. We've got most of the news of the day for the U.S. market is at 8:30. Kind of looks like there's the overnight Globex traders are kind of setting up for it now. So um, 20 minutes. Notice a little quality there, possibly. How far will this downside go? Well, again, it's really difficult to say when you've got news things going on. Um, these are fairly fresh areas and zones. Don't like that word. Areas. Um, Probably looks a little complicated, and that's a reflection really of sort of what's going on because that's the way they had to be. Many times they're a lot more simple, and I'll try to explain this a little bit. Um, Even if you've been looking at these, what the different colors are going to mean for the dynamics. And again, it's something that's just going to take feel um, to kind of understand. As I've said in the past week or two about many things, every area, every level is important. It's just how important is it? And this is sort of my system of sort of kind of look at it a heat map in a way. The blue obviously is the area to look for reversal or buyers to step in or not. Um, and the gray, bigger areas generally are going to be areas that could potentially be trading at trading ranges with plays off the edges. But if there's, for example, there's a now that this is blue, we're below it, it should turn red. It won't automatically. Well, actually, I'm looking into doing that automatically, but excuse me, the one could turn it red as an area to sell against. So as we retrace up to the top of this, it might make this edge a little bit more viable as a potential that we're going to get to the other side of the range. See, so I'm going to put it back blue for now. I want to. Okay, I've already launched into sort of a little bit of a not a pre-market, but sort of a user's guide, I guess. Let me move over to let's talk about yesterday a little bit. Um, so one of the things in the pre-market that I had anticipated we might do is to kind of fill out these divots here, and we did and we didn't. As far as time wise, we did rotate into well, we came down in here and didn't get through it. We rotated in here in the IB a little bit, and you can see the volume built out a little bit. However, we came out of this area into this area, which is going to be from, I indicated somewhere here down to here maybe, and that's it went up through it. It really rallied with double, triple distribution, and then early in the when it was about let's see noon, I'd done a another review, and I said I could see us rotating back down and rotating in here and building this out. Well, it came back down, but it didn't spend a ton of time as far as like back and forth, kind of like we see in the overnight is what I thought it might do when it came back down, but it certainly did build out the volume in this area. And as we came up, it built out the volume in this area, which we've been doing since overnight. You can see. So, one of the other takeaways as well, and I have made a little bit different areas. Some of them mostly stay the same, but I actually did it for today, excuse me, for today. So some of it may be a little changed, yet a lot of it still holds up. But one of the other takeaways was that I had, when I was talking about it coming back down at the time, the high was here. And I liked looking at the the potential that we would rotate back down and either all the way to the 786 or 618. And sure enough, we did come back down to the 618 and had someone found a reason to get long here, other than the indication that one might look for indications you should get long. This is a beautiful trade. Someone could take it all the way up. Of course, taking some off at these areas possibly, or deciding whether or not to flatten. But if one stayed with it, these were great. This was a great trade all the way up for the next hour. And then there were shorts in here too. You make money on both sides. Someone I trade with on a regular basis, very often we are opposite each other, but we still make money, both of us. So that's kind of neat. So everybody can win, even though people love to be so edgy and say, oh, it's a zero-sum game. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. All right, so I want to get this on the road here. The overnight, we've been basically kind of rotating, but in a general sense in the downward direction. And we just made this move down. We're in this sort of potential trading range. Now it's back up to where I said maybe someone could play the edges. One moment. So will it sell off from here? Would this be a nice little short all the way down and continue down, or would it be a nice little short for a few ticks to a point? Yeah, possibly. I do like to advise that, first of all, advising myself. All right, let me move over here for now. Okay, we are in range of yesterday's range. We are in yesterday's range. Okay, but also in value, and also where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wide. So there was a lot of time spent in here. That usually will give for a lot of chop. Got a pivot point here, a TPOC here, a VPOC from a couple days back. There could be a lot of mixed stuff going on in here. So someone did get short up here. I'm not saying, of course, off of what I just started this video, and don't think anybody's watching, but someone was a short against that. It's either going to be slow or choppy or both. Okay, so we're coming up on some news. So far, my little analysis of what's going on news-wise from my sources is pretty much the takeaway is the China is coming over here, excuse me, for trade talks. Not all of China, obviously. I don't remember if it was the premier. Somebody's coming over here, probably one of the ministers, someone. Coming over here for trade talks, and that's positive. So that's a bit bullish. We do have news again in about 13 minutes. And one of the indicators is supposed to be, economic indicator is supposed to be a little lower. And another one's supposed to remain about the same. So that's a little mixed up. We also are in a position, according to the analysts that I look at, for some corrective action. So what's that tell us? Well, pretty much it's the same as every time. It's the same as always. They play both sides. They talk out of both sides of their mouth. It's a bit bullish. It's a bit bearish. Well, there's sometimes they're pretty strong on one way or the other, but it's mixed. So what's that mean? Well, we could used to be, as I was saying earlier this week, that on days where it was potential for, kind of both ways, you get rotation, and you could almost predict it wouldn't look like yesterday. But now you can't. So one could argue this is the new rotational. Well, not really, because we did one time frame up with many distributions. But what I mean by that is, one could say that even on days that are just, let's say locals, what's the word I'm looking for? Non-institutional, just smaller traders, nothing major's happening, and the market's getting kind of kicked around like a hacky sack. they'll move it in big ranges. I mean, it can be a wide range, So um, that's why all these levels areas are kind of important right now, because um, we could get moves in both directions. So depending on the momentum, you want to be careful about how aggressive your entry is. And aggressive means the nearer you are to the entry of an area, the top, like if you're coming down here, it's the edge area. That's more aggressive. Um, these aren't exactly going to be right. I've seen yesterday, I think was a case in point, a lot of them were one tick off of where it might have stopped before the market moved away from it. So again, this is just a guide. This is not, this is a, I don't want to say 30,000. Well, yeah, you could say 30,000 feet view. You need something a little bit more dexterous to decide whether you want to be in, let's say, at 75.50 or 74 if you're going long, or if you're going short, you want to try to get in around 74 or around 75. Those are things that you're going to have to decide, because a couple ticks can make a big difference depending on your lot size and your risk tolerance, right? So again, right now we're going to open up in range and in value, which means that we are looking for some chop. That could all change, and I may have to come and do a shore up this right before 9:30, but I wanted to get this done before 8:30. Right now, if it gets a little wiggy, we could see a move down to the 81.50 area. If it gets down here, want to be careful. It might even go down and knock out this J low. I don't want to make this area that big, but it's possible to get a little throw over down here before it reverses. So let's say you got long. I would be more conservative. Let's say it was coming down here. I would not want to try to get a bounce here. I'd want to see it come like right to the edge, 82. Now you say, well, the edge looks like it's at 80. Wait a minute, 81.75. I mean, right there. See, because there's a little overlap underneath at 82 is the edge of the gray area. There's 82. I'd want to be this where it says 25.82. That's reflecting this bottom line. The gray areas have the price on them. The blue areas do not. 81.75 was a little bit of throw over, but then again, you've got this potential for this J low right there. And then not only J low, if there's stops below it, they might move it to 80.50. Well, let's say you said, well, I'm going to wait till 80.50. Well, that auction could dry up right here and turn around. Could be really jerky. I don't know. I'm not saying to get in on a limit. You might want to get in as orders come in. And I'm not saying this is the trade. I'm just trying to provide a little insight as to how to use your own areas if you're still struggling with some things like that. And if you decide to like pause a video and say, well, I'm going to try out these areas and see how they work, because I don't want to sit through a video later and watch a review. So, all right, they're getting a little jiggy here. You can see some people are adjusting positions. It starts to get a little choppy. The news is going to come out pretty soon. And then to the upside, if we were to get news here, it could just rotate around in here or jerk around, come up off the value area low of the overnight at 88.50, off the edge at 89.50. If it finds traction in here, it starts to jerk around and doesn't get downside, and on a smaller time frame, you're getting higher lows, higher highs, and whatnot. You could decide to use one of these upper edges to get long as it gets back up in here. But the overall thing is, I'm going to say, whatever you're doing, be quick, because it's probably going to be choppy. Maybe not. Probably going to be choppy. And I guess I'm saying pre-market, but I'm calling the market here at 8:30, not the 9:30 open, because things could change a lot between now and then, especially after the news. Right now, if we were before 9:30, I'd say, well, look for shorts off of around the overnight VPOC, which value area high of a couple of days ago, and where it's it's very wide all across in here. This being an area I would look for, as things are starting to set up in the day, it's probably going to reverse from there. unless the momentum is super strong. And that's another thing to consider is what did not happen. So if the momentum, it gets through one of the, when I've got areas this close together, there's sort of quote edges this close together, a lot of dynamic regions and dynamic levels that close together, and it gets through them so quickly, very quickly, then that tells you what didn't happen. What didn't happen is they didn't hold, so the bullishness is quite strong, and you might want to consider getting with it, or waiting till it retraces and then loading up or whatever. So I guess that's enough for now. You can see sort of where it's basically this market looks a little bracketed based on what I have here. Okay. I actually want to add another little area. Let's see. Say from that'll come out right. Yeah, there we go. It's another possible catch point. So hope this is helpful to you. I'll probably come back. I might make all my videos before the open. So I'll come back after 8:30, see what happens, and then maybe again before the open, and touch it up a little bit as far as what the early trades might be. Right now, the early trades would be, depending on the news, and I don't quote unquote trade the news, but depending on what happens and what the price action is and the order flow, right now, definitely be a bumpy ride, but it looks like it could, if there's going to try to shake out different directions, it may just rattle around in this gray area between these two rock and hard places here. I mean, you could look at it like this, right? Could rattle around in here. In fact, I'm going to leave this like this for the moment and turn it blue if we get back up here. Right now, it's going to stay red. So, all right. Hope you enjoyed this. There's 4 minutes till news comes out. I'm going to get ready. See you after that. Bye.